For years, we were known as Central Veterinary Associates, and we know that some of you were not exactly thrilled with the services that were provided.
But a new day has arrived. We're changing and will now be known as Premier Veterinary Medical Group.
But it's much more than a name change. It's a new management team, a new attitude, with a new state-of-the-art modern facility in Rockville Center, New York.
We're going all out to provide the best possible care for your pets. And that includes 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week emergency care from a team of highly trained professional emergency care veterinarians.
So check out the all-new Premier Veterinary Medical Group. We're ready to serve Nassau and Queens counties with compassion, commitment, and the utmost confidence.
And we have immediate openings for overnight emergency vets with great pay and outstanding benefits. Contact us today at premierveterinarymedicalgroup.com/careers.
I grew up with a bunch of uncles in a locker room.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Joe Myers, $10 shout out. Very good. Thank you
Thanks,
very much,
Joe.
Joe. Super chat for a super guest on a super show. What a day, everyone. Justin, you are very popular in this chat right now. I just want to let you know. Another quick
Hello,
question.
everyone.
Jason's asking a good one. Justin, other than the Porsche, which other crazy high performance cars did he own throughout your childhood growing up? He seemed like a guy who would own them. Did he have a lot of cars?
He had a 1977 Trans Am 455 SD.
Is that a
Wow.
Smokey and the
He had
Bandit car?
I don't. I'm not much of a mechanic, but it was completely ported out. Exhaust pipes coming out onto the driver's side and the passenger side door.
Oh, wow.
And I don't really know much. It put out about 750 horsepower, evidently.
Oh, my God. So he custom made this?
Well, he bought the car and then had the engine.
And then he had
basically a racing engine. That
Oh,
car
my
was so we would be going down the highway at 115 mile an hour, and he pushed that thing to the floor and the tires would squeak.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So yeah, he actually made our next door neighbor pee his pants in it. He went out. He said, "Bob, come for a ride in my car." So they took off and they went. You hear the up the cul-de-sac and to the left, and then you hear this loud roar.
Oh, wow.
And you could just follow it with your finger down there, and they pulled up. And they went to the convenience store, or whatever. They came back a few minutes later, and Bob Springer was his name. He got out of the car. He didn't say anything to his son Scott or I. He just, "Oh my God!" And he walked into his house.
And we get another question from the boss here, asking, "How do you feel about your mom and what she had to say about your dad on the dark side of the ring?"
Oh, my mom's wonderful. In fact, she might drop by here in a minute.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. She, she has her thing, her stories, and I have my stories. And being the wife of a world champion is darn near impossible back then.
Oh, sure.
They, I think they lasted. They were married for 23 years, and I think they lasted longer than any world champion couple. When a champion, when they became champion or whatever, they ended up getting divorced a couple of years later.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, they remained married the whole time he was world champion. When he stopped wrestling as much and was at home, that's when they got divorced.
Nice.
It's like, you're not as good to be, or you're not as fun to be around now that you're here all the time.
That's great. That's great. Gerard Millet's tuning in, and he had a question for you. How old were you when you found out that what your dad did wasn't real but choreographed?
Oh, you kind of figure it out as time goes on. I mean, there was no moment that my dad came in to me and said, "Look, this is how it goes." When I was 8, 7, whatever years old,
Sure.
My mom and dad used to kind of have a little code when we were traveling with him.
Okay.
And they decide if this, when we go to the matches in the evening, is this going to be a bloodbath or is this going to be a wrestling match? And
Right.
wrestling match, I'd go. Bloodbath, we'd go to play miniature golf or whatever movie. But it doesn't always work that way. And, you get see your dad getting hit over the head with chairs and blood flying everywhere. And I'd start crying and my mom would have to take me out. And
that's when you were real young, right? You said 8 or 7.
Yeah. So, I mean, but after a while, you see all this blood in the chairs and this and that, you get a little bit older and you go back to the dressing room and he's fine. You're like, well, wait a minute. And then, so just kind of figure it out. There was never a moment.
Yeah. Now, when you say the bloodbath, Did he already know way beforehand that this match was going to be a bloodbath? I mean,
Well,
sometimes
I mean, you
go ahead.
could kind of it was kind of indicative of who he wrestled with. I
Right.
mean, if he had a match with Abdul the Butcher, my mom and I went to the movie.
I think everybody bled when you.
Yeah.
I think everybody bled. Even the ringside fans bled when Abdullah the
Yeah,
Butcher
yeah,
wrestled.
there was
So I
more
get
blood
that. Yeah.
flying than in the hospital. But
Wow.
so, but if he was, if it was Flair or one of the Funks, or although they got some pretty nasty matches going,
Sure.
sometimes, and like I said, they weren't always right. They tried, if I wanted to go and he was wrestling
Right.
someone reasonable for me to go, it doesn't mean that they didn't get a little out of hand.
Sure.
And Dad
No, I
was,
understand.
when I say out of hand, Dad was a ring general.
Right.
Everything that happened went according to how he wanted it.
Okay.
And kind of interesting.
So he was the
He'd be
boss.
wrestling guys, and things
Yeah.
would get out of hand and get a little bit off of where he wanted it to go or whatever. So
Wow.
he'd put them in an armbar or headlock or whatever, and lean down close to their ears. They don't
Yeah.
piss me off.
Right.
I read a
And
story about him. He was in a tag team match in Japan with Brody, and Brody must have been laying in the kicks or doing something. But I think your dad caught him like in an ankle pick or said something, and he leaned over and said, "Frank, slow down. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." And Brody behaved for the rest of the match. So yeah.
So real
well,
quickly,
we were on tour and with Japan and with Brody once, and he used to wear his sweatpants, and he pull them up to around his knee.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So I started wearing my sweatpants and pulling them up. Dad looked at me, Frank, what the hell are you doing to my son? Look how you both look like hobos. I think it
so
was cool.
I got another question from the chat. Nicholas Davis, Nick, thanks for chiming in here. Justin, who inspired your father to become a pro wrestler? Do you know who inspired him, or
Oh, the Zabiscos
Stanley and
back
Waldeck?
in that day.
Yeah.
I mean, people like that he ended up like Luthez,
Right.
the former champions.
So is that
Well,
story
Brandon
true
Lewis-
though?
Even Gorgeous George to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Sure. Everybody knew Gorgeous George. Was it true?
Sure.
I mean, some things you want to believe, some things you can't. But was it true that he hit a high school principal? The principal
Oh, yeah.
kicked him or something like that? Or that is
Barely in high school. He was in ninth grade.
Oh,
and
wow.
he did something in the gym, and the principal jumped on top of him or whatever. He turned around and knocked the principal out,
Wow.
and was a